to this edition of Lancaster Perspective. I'm Mike Miller. My special guest today, the Transit Director for LDOT, Carrie Woody.
Lancaster Fairfield Public Transit. LDOT's different.
I'm
Didn't
sorry.
we just go over this?
We just went over that too. I just got scolded for the same thing. I have it in my notes.
Greg Hintz would be so mad at me right
I
now.
know. Well,
he
he'll
doesn't
get
want me
over it.
taking over his position.
He'll get over it.
But yes, thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're here. Been a while.
It
a
has
long
been.
time.
It's actually been. It's been several months.
Yeah, it's and you've been there about 9 years now.
9 years. Can you believe that? It's gone fast.
Yeah, but you've done a great job there.
Think about how much older we are now.
Oh, I know, every day, every day, and I have people remind me all the time.
Right?
So, oh yeah, but it's okay. It's all right.
It's been 9 years. It's been fun.
Yeah, has it?
It has been. We've
Yeah.
been able to make a lot of changes, and we've just had a lot of fun with this.
I remember, a long time ago about transportation and transit. Talk about some of the things when you first started. Did you think, oh my God,
What did I do?
What did I do?
That was my first thought. So the city was very smart about this when I was going through the process of being hired. No one took me and showed me where my office was until my first day on the job. My first day they said, meet us at City Hall and we'll take you over to your office. And of course me being very trustful and naive
Absolutely.
and maybe somewhat stupid.
No,
I did as I was told, met them at City Hall, and they took me over to my office, and I just remember pulling in the parking lot thinking, oh my goodness, what have I done? Because at United Way, Sherry Orlando, she spoiled me. She so spoiled me. And so, yeah, my first day I thought, what did I do? Our office, if you haven't been there.
I have, actually.
We are right in front of the water treatment plant, so there was one, and we have a really old building that used to be occupied by the electrical department. So wires galore throughout the entire building, and they didn't care what it looked like because they were running wires here, there, and everywhere. They weren't really in their building. And some of the walls, you could actually see outside through the walls because of holes.
Oh my God.
So then you had issues with rodents. So, first couple years there, I made a priority to apply for as many grants as I could. We renovated the office, knocked out walls, built walls, closed the outside world, put in windows where ventilation doesn't get through very easy. We did a lot just in the building itself.
Oh, absolutely.
So now we feel like we have a building to come to at least.
Well, that's you do. I mean, it's what it used to be and what you've done with it is amazing. It really is.
It's been a challenge, but fun.
Yeah, I know not only the brick and mortar, but you've expanded routes and you've taken it to a new height that nobody thought could be done, to be honest with you.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that a lot of people thought it could be done. I just don't know that we've had anybody to really work with it. And I can't say that I did it. I mean, honestly, we have so many great community partners that did most of the heavy lifting. Fairfield County Board of DD, Job and Family Services, United Way. I mean, we have so many community partners. We were talking about Olivedale earlier with their older adult levy. They have helped so much. Every township, every village in Fairfield County, the county commissioners. I mean, we had so many champions just come and embrace it, and really they are the ones that help move it forward.
But you started, it was just Lancaster.
Yes,
and
when
you've
I started,
expanded the whole county.
Yes, when I started we had 8 vehicles, and the majority of those were old retired police cruisers. So you can imagine what shape they were in and how they smelled. And then we had 2 minivans. And again, they smelled. And we were just a city service. And we were doing just over 40,000 rides each year. And
Wow.
we wanted to make sure that we kept our jobs, so we decided to expand and really spread the word. And it really didn't take much. Again, when I was going through the interview process, one of the very first questions Mayor Smith asked me at the time was, what do you know about public transit? And I had to honestly say, I didn't even know we had a public transit. I mean, I didn't even know it existed in Fairfield County or in the city of Lancaster. So honestly, it was so easy to grow because all we had to do was let people know we were here. As soon as people knew we were here, they started calling and they started writing.
So when somebody says, we need this transit route.
Mm-hmm.
Do they call you? What's the email? What's the easiest thing? I mean,
Yes,
how does a
and
route get
yes.
started?
So several factors. We hold public hearings every year, so we get a lot of public input that way from people that attend public hearings. We get phone calls throughout the year. We get emails. Riders will talk to drivers, and the drivers bring information back. We do customer surveys a couple times a year, so the riders will put, comments on surveys. And we hold stakeholder meetings, so a lot of the stakeholders, for instance, maybe New Horizons or Board of DD or Job and Family Services, and I could continue to list all the human service organizations that send us comments and feedback of what their clients need and the individuals that they work with, how they need to be served. And so we take all of that into consideration. We also work with the Fairfield County Regional Planning Commission, James Mako. He actually worked with me and mapped out all of our low-income housing, all of our disabled housing, mapped it all out for us so that we could see where those individuals may need transportation. And then we just look at some of our most common trip generators. So we have a lot of people that ask to go to the hospital or they ask to go to the grocery store. And so we take all of those into consideration as well when we're building routes.
So when you expand, because again, you went from Lancaster to do you get into Franklin County yet? Do you get that far?
A little bit.
Okay.
So what we did is United Way and Family Adult and Children First Council had conducted a needs assessment. And the third priority on their needs assessment was transportation. And so we took what they had found in their needs assessment and we partnered that with a study that was done by the Ohio Department of Transportation called the Human Service Public Transportation Needs Assessment. And so we took all of the items that were listed in there and just started making a list of everything that was needed in Fairfield County. And so one of the things was transportation specifically in the Pickerington area. So the first year I was here, we really focused on trying to get transportation in Pickerington and Violet Township. And then after that, we were able to add the county. So then after we added the county service, we found a lot of people needing or wanting to go to Franklin County. We have a lot of individuals in Fairfield County that work in Franklin, specifically downtown. So what we typically try to do is we take people to COTA bus stops. The COTA bus stops are in Franklin County, but they're usually right on the county border. And so we'll take individuals to those bus stops, and then they can transfer to a COTA line to get where they need to go.
That's just how many riders do you have? I mean, you talked about 40,000 back in the day. I mean, just ballpark figure.
And so on an average day, we're anywhere from 400 to 600 rides a day right now, and we're averaging around 120,000 a year.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's grown.
That is amazing.
I know. And they haven't fired me yet, so that's good.
well, now that you've remodeled the office, they're gonna
right. I have it just the way I like it.
Just the way you like it.
Just the way I like it.
When you talk with other counties, is it difficult to say, you talked about COTA, but is it hard, difficult to get them to agree to do this? Or?
It depends on the county. So out of the surrounding counties that we have, we do have good relationships, but again, they're busy. They have schedules as well. Right. Franklin County is the only one that actually has a fixed route system with bus stops. That makes it a little bit easier for us to go because we know their schedule when they stop. We work with Pickaway County, Hocking County, Licking County. If individuals want to cross those county lines, we typically meet. And for instance, we have individuals that go back and forth to Hocking County for support type resources. And so we will call Hocking County and they meet us at the Dogwood Center that's on heading toward Clear Creek. I can't think of the intersection there. So we meet there, transfer individuals back and forth so that they can cross county lines. Licking County's done the same. We meet at the Pilot gas station right off of 70 and 37. So typically they're really easy. We're all in the same business. We want to help people get to where they need to go so that they have a good quality of life.
You talked earlier about the vehicles, the old police vehicles. Now you have different vehicles. You have many different vehicles. Do those last a couple years, or talk a little bit about the vehicles themselves?
So our vehicles, they typically last. They're pretty big buses with pretty big engines. They last anywhere from 7+ years. We've had vehicles I mean, we finally just retired like a 2002 and 2003 vehicle. A lot of our vehicles get 300,000 plus miles on them before they're retired. As long as they're operating and they're running and they're safe, we'll operate them as long as we can. Now, the state actually is very helpful in that sense. They actually give us grants each year so that we can continue to replace and keep our stock rolling and keep it a little more up to date. So that does help.
Right. The buses, they handle bicycles, do they? Can you put bicycles?
Currently, we do not have bicycle racks.
Okay.
Occasionally, we'll let individuals put their bikes on the buses when we have space to do so.
Right.
But if the bus is just too crowded and there's no safe way to transport that bicycle, we won't do it. We have looked at getting bike racks, and that's something that we're looking at in the future.
Right.
We just haven't had a huge request for that yet.
Now that you've been here 9 years and you built this from basically nothing. Someone walks in and says, I'll give you a blank check. What are you going to do?
Oh my, that's a very loaded question. Oh, the list could go on and on. One of the things that we're looking at right now that we think would be awesome to have for our community is some type of mobile app that all of our passengers can download to see exactly where the bus is, if it's running late, if there's a road closure that's causing us to create some type of different route or alternate. It would be great to have some type of app for individuals to just kind of see real time what's going on, because sometimes we only have 3 lines in our phone, and so sometimes it's hard to get through to our staff, and then people get frustrated because if the bus is running late or in those type of situations. That's probably first and foremost.
Wow.
Of course, depending on, if they're willing to give me a blank check.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we could buy more buses, we'd start more route. There's all kinds of stuff we could do.
Do you have, do you see a new route coming up now?
We do, actually. We are going to be starting a new route June 5th. We have seen such a huge response, especially to our east loop that goes out East Main Street, Sheridan Drive, that most days it's standing room only. And so we've decided to split that route and add some additional spaces. So you'll actually be happy to know that we're going to be heading out South Broad Street.
Fantastic.
And we're going to be stopping at Hubert at the corner of the front of the Salvation Army building. That's going to be a stop.
That's fantastic.
Yes, and we're actually, the Sheridan Drive loop will actually head out to Rainbow Drive and around 37 to hit OUL, Board of DD, New Horizons, Lancaster High School. So yes, we actually have a new route starting June 5th.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Whole redesign.
Now, if somebody wanted to know about all the routes, website, where do they go to? What would they?
If somebody wants to learn about our routes, they can go to the city's website, and then it gives you an option to choose transit as the department that you want to look at, and then all of our transit schedules, the bus routes, if you want to look at a map or you prefer to look at times, they're all posted on our website. And if you're planning on trying to ride a route, it's always good to check that first in case times have changed on those routes, because they do change periodically. Or if you're not comfortable using the website, call the office. We always have staff there Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Phone number is 681-5086, and you can always call us.
What's it cost to ride the transit?
So if you're riding those loops, which again, those run East Main Street, Memorial. If you're riding one of our actual loops, it's 50 cents. If you're 65 and older, or if you have a permanent disability, you can actually apply for our mobility program that makes it 25 cents. And then if you transfer between the routes, it's a 10-cent transfer. And then if you ride our demand response system, where we pick you up at your door and take you directly to your location without you riding the loop buses, then it's a $2 fare.
Wow.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Especially when gas prices just went up in the last few days. It's very cost efficient. And that's one of the things that we really strive to get out to the individuals in this area, is that it does become an option. And if you're trying to decide whether to buy food or make your car payment or car insurance, or if you have a child who's turning 16 that wants to get a job and you're not sure if you want to take on another, cost or expense for insurance and gas, public transit's a great option. We actually had one of our biggest supporters, Bill Vance, City of Pickerington, when they first moved here. His daughter was 16, and first thing he did was call me and say, how do we use public transit, because I'm not paying for a car. So
sounds like Bill.
He became a great supporter for us right away, and it was great. Very invested, and I always knew when we messed up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
I always knew how to make things better.
Phil's a
So,
great
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
It's a great option.
Do you have the opportunity to go to conventions or conferences to talk with other people and steal ideas? Or?
All the time. I will say the first 6 years of being in public transit, I made it a point at least 4 times a year, so once a quarter, to go visit another transit agency just to steal ideas. And so we have begged, borrowed, and pleaded with every transit agency in the state of Ohio looking for better ways and better ideas and things to do differently. And we visit Cleveland, Dayton, Cincinnati, Columbus, and then we also visit the smallest systems with 3 to 5 vehicles. Everybody has something different to bring, and we always walk away with ideas.
You talked earlier about grants. Is everybody fighting for the same grants, or are there different grants you look at from federal, national?
We all fight for the same grants. So we typically in public transit, you have your local funding. So our local funding comes from our contract revenue. We get money from our commissioners, the city, and some other local funds. Our fare boxes, so the fares that individuals pay. And then we are able to use those local funds to pool in state and federal grant dollars. And
Matching dollars?
matching dollars. And so that's pretty much how we are funded. Now, some of your larger systems will have some type of levy funding for their local funds, but for the most part, we're all pooling in state and federal funds, and usually out of similar grant funds.
Right.
So competing, but we're all in the same profession, and we're all very respectful of each other.
When you mentioned levy, is that something the bigger, like Cleveland, Cincinnati, is that how they're funded? Or?
Yes.
Is that an option? Have you ever thought about that, or is there a need to? Or?
Need, absolutely. At this point, it's been a discussion, but I don't know that the county is ready yet. It would have to be a county-wide tax.
Sure.
And I know when it's been discussed before, it wasn't an option. And maybe down the road, now that we're continuing to grow and we're showing how viable we actually are, it may be a discussion again later.
Is there a route that goes to OUL?
It will be June 5th.
June 5th, that will be
Yes.
Okay, that was one
Yes.
question that, when you're looking at all these things and you're preparing for, the future and what you want to look at and how you want to do that, do you target, like, how old do you have to be to ride transit? Can you be?
There is no minimum age.
There's no minimum age?
There's no minimum age. The only thing that we stress is especially to parents, if you're letting your children ride, you need to know that you can trust that child.
Sure.
When they're on our bus, they are completely under our care. We are going to be 100% responsible for what happens to them while they're on our bus. The moment they step off of our bus,
Right.
they are no longer under our supervision, and we can't control what happens. So I know a lot of parents, we have a lot of parents who put children on for either school, sports, other type of after-school activities. We get a lot of children riding for that. But the parents know where the children are going. There's always someone there to receive the child, to be accountable. In the summers, we see a lot of children riding, like maybe to go to the pool or to the library, to the movies. Again, that's not an issue. We've really not had an issue, knock on wood. We've not had any issues, but again, we just remind the parents that once that child leaves our bus, we're no longer responsible, and
Right.
that's the biggest thing we want to stress. But on the bus, I mean, I was telling Steve Rao about this actually last time we talked. A few years ago, I called the house. I was at work looking for my son. Nobody knew where he was. He was 5th grade at the time, and he decided to call transit and schedule a ride for he and his friend, and they went to the movies without asking mom or anyone's permission. So we think he's missing, but no, he just took transit to the movies. And so I had to talk to the staff, and they said, well, I'm sorry, he's your son, so we just thought you knew.
Sure. Yeah.
So just a word of caution to parents, make sure your child knows to ask permission and that the child knows to check in, so
Absolutely.
everybody knows what's going on.
What's going on?
But yeah, my kids think transit's great.
I rode transit up until I could drive. That's after practices. I got on
Yeah.
the bus, and if it wasn't there, I'd had to walk. And I just, even at that young age, I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
So when you wrap everything up and again, we're talking about the future and growing.
Mm-hmm.
Expansion to other counties, farther into those counties, or is there an unwritten rule you can't cross those?
There's actually a written rule that we really can't go too far into other counties.
Okay.
Well, one, especially Franklin County, because they do rely on a tax levy.
Right.
We don't really have a lot of permission to do a lot in their area. Now, if somebody needs, a trip maybe from Lancaster or from Fairfield County for a specific reason, maybe it's a medical appointment, we're allowed to take them into Franklin County to that appointment and bring them back. But for us to just run regular service and pick people up in Franklin County
Right.
and take them wherever they want to go, we're not able to do that.
Do you go south, like New Lexington, or that far south? Or
No, we typically try and meet Perry County at the line and
Okay.
transfer individuals. Now, the one caveat is we've been talking with Groveport and with CODA about possibly piloting transportation to the Rickenbacker area
Oh, yeah.
for employment purposes.
A lot of employers in
Yeah,
Rickenbacker.
so working with Corey Clark at Job and
Yeah.
Family, and this
Yeah.
this position very well. So yeah, we're starting to have that conversation on how we can help provide transportation so that individuals can work in that area. They have so many jobs unfilled
Right.
that it would be great for us and for those individuals.
It-
So
It's a good, when I was doing that was one thing employers always said, we can't get people. We just, buses run at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock, that, we're getting, because they run different shifts. But why more people weren't riding the buses. I mean, because they're dependable, they're there all the time. And that was many
Yeah.
lives ago.
not that many.
Yeah, not that many.
Not that many.
So when you're not doing all this transit stuff, I know you're doing body pump and
I
you're doing all
am.
those things.
I am still doing body pump.
And I
love
promise
it.
you, we wouldn't talk about the Blue Jackets, so we won't talk about the Blue Jackets.
Thanks, Mike. You're
You're
so
welcome.
kind.
You're welcome.
You're so kind.
I
But
know.
yes, still teaching at the Y. That's my hobby.
Yeah.
I've been there now. I've been teaching for 16 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's back before I had wrinkles.
Oh,
That's the many years ago. But yeah, it's been 16 years. So I'm still teaching there. In the mornings, I teach Monday through Friday morning at 5:30 a.m. Then I go home, get the kids up.
5:30 a.m.?
A.m.
actually, you used to get
Wake
to play
up
racquetball.
sometime.
No, I used to play
Get up
racquetball at
sometime. Come
5:30
join us.
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
I do
paid
that.
my dues.
And then I go to my day job, and then I come
Yeah.
home and play mom for the evening.
Yeah, that's because you're involved in swimming too, aren't you?
Yes, I have swimmers, I
Yeah.
have golfers, soccer, basketball. We're involved.
Yeah, that's a lot. Your husband's coaching and.
Of course, Mike, and you know that life too.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
That's-
still coaching football and basketball. Finally got him to give up track.
Wow.
I know, that's a total win in my book.
Absolutely.
One down, two to go.
Yeah, one down, two to go. But I know that you basically put this on the map. I know you're not going to say no, but you've put transit on the map. I mean, is it? Obviously, you enjoy doing it. Is this?
Some days.
Some days you enjoy doing it. That's,
Well, I do enjoy it. I mean,
Uh-huh.
honestly, when we get some of those personal calls and we really get to, I think the best part of my job is the one-on-one. When I'm able to ride the bus and I get to talk to the people personally and I get to hear how we're helping them.
Sure.
How, when someone tells me how they're able to work because of our bus or, their quality of life has improved. I mean, that's what makes it worth it. Now you bring up being on the map. Not yet, but we are working on getting onto Google Maps, having all of our routes put on Google Maps. Our IT department is actually working on that. So actually,
Wow.
we officially will be on the map.
That'll be super.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're working
Yeah.
on it.
I did have one question from a viewer. If somebody wants to drive, is there CDLs? What would they have to do to become a driver?
So we are always looking for good drivers. And if you want to be a driver, again, call our office, 681-5086. Really, you just need a pretty clean driving record. I need to be able to pass pre-employment testing, which includes drug and alcohol. And then actually Jason Moyer, he is our general manager. He goes through all the applications, does all the driver training. We do have some vehicles that require CDL, but the majority of ours do not. So yeah, if you're good with people,
Part-time, full-time?
yes and yes.
Okay.
So if you're good with people and you're a good driver, safe driver,
Right.
then please call the office.
And the buses run from when to when?
So we run Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Saturday, 7 to 5.
Okay. Do you make any, like for the festival or anything like that? Do you change?
We don't for the festival. For the fair, Wednesday through Saturday during the Fairfield County Fair, we extend operating hours and run fair shuttles, just to help individuals with mobility issues, especially getting in and out of the fairgrounds. If you're in some type of mobility device, or if you
Sure.
have limited mobility, it's really hard to park at the fairgrounds and get across some of those fields. So we do a lot of off-site parking at River Valley Mall and other locations as well. Tiki Pool, for one. But we'll pick individuals up and take them and drop them off inside the fairgrounds on the pavement. And so that helps people a lot. So we've seen a lot of ridership in that over the last few years.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
A lot of new ideas, a lot of stuff going on.